Some regions in China are implementing drastic measures after a sudden smattering of virus outbreaks. Wuhan is set to test its entire population of 11 million people in 10 days. A bombshell report from German media Der Spiegel on a January call between Chinese leader Xi Jinping asking the World Health Organization's Director General to downplay the seriousness of the outbreak. The WHO since responding. Trump stops blacklisted Chinese companies from getting U.S. pension fund money. $4.5 billion of federal employees' retirement was set to go there. And 2 more U.S. professors are facing punishments that include jail for hiding their ties to the Chinese regime. One from Arkansas now arrested and under investigation. Another from Georgia now convicted. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The situation in Wuhan seems to be very serious. On May 11th, the Wuhan Command Group for Combating the Epidemic sent an emergency notice to its various branches. The notice tells all branches to carry out virus testing on everyone in the city within 10 days, starting May 12th. This includes both permanent and non-permanent residents. Wuhan has a population of 11 million. Chinese authorities didn't release this notice publicly, but local media was able to confirm it with relevant authorities in several different districts. Another is questioning the real motive behind the move, saying the testing itself isn't important, but it is important to fabricate new data, whatever the regime needs for this phase of the outbreak. One netizen is questioning the accuracy of the Chinese testing kits. A May 11th video shows a group of people dressed in black and wearing masks standing in front of a very famous fresh food store in Wuhan. Some of them are carrying pitchforks or shields, stopping people from going in. The person who uploaded this video said there's an asymptomatic case in this store. Wuhan's second outbreak seems just around the corner, but the first outbreak is not over yet for families of some people who died of the virus. Ms. Yang says her 24-year-old daughter got infected with the CCP virus on January 16th after she went to see a doctor in a Wuhan hospital. This was 4 days before Chinese authorities admitted human-to-human transmission. She died of the virus in early February. Ms. Yang told us if she knew the disease was contagious, her daughter would not have gone to the hospital and could possibly still be alive. Because there is no hope of winning a lawsuit against the authorities, she's trying to make her daughter's case on the internet, on the street, and through overseas media.
I just want to ask Wuhan authorities why they didn't tell citizens about this contagious virus. Why?
Ms. Yang said the authorities responded to her, but just continued lying.
They said they announced it on the internet on December 31st. I asked them, then why was there a warning for Dr. Li Wenliang? Why did Dr. Li get a warning? How did CCTV cover the issue? Why did the director of China's CDC say there was no human-to-human transmission?
When 8 whistleblower doctors, including Dr. Li Wenliang, said the virus was contagious, CCTV criticized them for spreading so-called rumors. Ms. Yang got a death certificate for her daughter, but the cause of death read viral pneumonia. She refused it and told the hospital to change it to novel coronavirus. Through her own experience, she realized that the authorities were covering up the epidemic's true situation. She's asking Chinese authorities to investigate officials at all levels who covered up the epidemic, to tell people the truth, and to publicly apologize to the families of all the victims.
I just want to hold them accountable. I want justice for my child.
Local authorities have not tried to help her. Instead, they want to stop her fighting for her daughter. She's been beaten and dragged away several times. Her daughter hasn't been buried yet. Ms. Yang says she will never give up the fight. The German magazine Der Spiegel has reported on a January 21st discussion between Chinese leader Xi Jinping and the World Health Organization's Director General. During the discussion, he asked the WHO to downplay the seriousness of the outbreak and hold on declaring a pandemic. That's according to the German Federal Intelligence Agency, BND. 1 day earlier, Chinese authorities admitted the virus was contagious, but the WHO didn't declare a global health emergency until 10 days later. Back then, the situation in Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, was already very serious. The city's mayor said that 5 million people had already left the city before it was locked down on January 23rd. But the WHO constantly praised China for its containment measures and waited another month before declaring a pandemic on March 11th. According to the German intelligence agency, the delay cost the world 4 to 6 weeks of preparations. The WHO denied the report and said on January 21st there was no such talk between Xi and Tedros. The Trump administration has blocked federal retirement funds from ending up in the hands of blacklisted Chinese companies. Over $4 billion was earmarked for them. But a letter between top officials highlights significant national security and humanitarian concerns around the investment.
The Trump administration has blocked U.S. federal pension funds from investing in Chinese companies. The federal government's retirement savings fund was set to invest $4.5 billion in Chinese companies as part of a $50 billion international investment. But in a Monday letter to the managers of the pension fund known as the Thrift Savings Plan, National Economic Council Chair Larry Kudlow and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien blocked the investment. They said it would have presented significant national security and humanitarian concerns. The letter went on to say federal employees' money would have gone to companies that violate U.S. sanctions and assist the Chinese regime's efforts to build its military and oppress religious minorities. Among them is surveillance firm Hikvision Digital Technology. Hikvision was placed on a trade blacklist last year because its technology is used in detention camps for China's Uyghur Muslims. Also included is telecom company ZTE, which was penalized by the U.S. government for violating American sanctions, as well as aircraft company Aviation Industry Corporation, which provides weapons for the Chinese military. The letter also referenced the Chinese regime's handling of the CCP virus outbreak. It said China may be sanctioned for their actions, so investing there is not advisable right now. Kudlow and O'Brien noted, in view of these considerations, we do not believe that proceeding with the investment of the retirement savings of hardworking federal workers in Chinese companies is prudent.
To find out more, check out our special report that premiered here on this channel on May 10th on the connection between Wall Street and the Chinese Communist regime's virus outbreak. The FBI uncovers 2 more American professors with hidden ties to the Chinese regime. One is under arrest for failing to disclose funding he got from China. NTD's Melina Weisskopf brings us more on the investigations.
More cases of the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating U.S. universities. The FBI reveals 2 professors who hid their links to the Chinese regime's Thousand Talents program.
It's the reason that China has this Thousand Talent program is they want to steal technology.
And now, Professor Xiaojiang Li from Atlanta, Georgia's Emory University is facing legal consequences for his hidden relationship with the talent recruitment program. Sentenced to 1 year of probation, he has to pay over $35,000. Li earned at least $500,000 in foreign income, but did not report it when filing taxes. On May 8th, the professor pled guilty for filing the false tax return. So why would he not want to disclose the extra income he received from the Chinese regime's program?
You see, this is working for the party and working for Chinese military. But either way, they need to know that it's illegal. And otherwise, they would publicize it, right?
Another professor at the University of Arkansas, Simon Saw Tiong-ong, was arrested Friday and is now being investigated for a similar lack of transparency. He had close relations with China, but was not honest about those connections upon receiving grant money from NASA. An email discovered shows Ong allegedly asked another researcher to keep his ties to the CCP a secret. Not many people here know I am one of them, but if this leaks out, my job will be in deep troubles. A former chemistry doctorate student at Purdue University, Frank Shi, says the Chinese consulate would come to encourage him and other colleagues to bring technology back to China.
And they will openly ask us, to get the technology and bring back. So they have been doing that. This has been going on for decades.
Assistant Attorney General for the National Security said in a press release, the Department of Justice remains vigilant over programs such as the Thousand Talents program that recruits professors and researchers to work for China. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Arkansas professor, still under investigation, faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. A group of attorneys general are requesting congressional hearings about the Chinese Communist regime's handling of the CCP virus. They say they are considering legal action against the regime.
Attorneys general for 18 U.S. states are urging congressional leaders to investigate the Chinese regime's role in the global spread of the CCP virus. The letter, dated May 9th, asks the lawmakers to open hearings into the matter. The state officials accused the Chinese regime of layers of deceit in its cover-up of the outbreak, saying the pandemic has wreaked havoc on the U.S. as a result. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson organized the letter. It comes as the Trump administration is probing how the outbreak started in China. Meanwhile, the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has opened its own investigation into China's accountability for the virus spread. The letter says the Chinese Communist Party appears to have intentionally misled the world over the last 6 months. It also says the World Health Organization played a role. Many of the 18 attorneys general are considering taking legal action against the Chinese Communist regime. Mississippi's Lynn Finch has already taken this step. The AG filed a lawsuit against the regime shortly after her state did in April. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich on Monday questioned the motives of Democratic Party rhetoric. He told Fox and Friends the party seemed to be increasingly pro-communist Chinese party, saying it was mystifying that some Democrats would deny the regime's responsibility for the pandemic, and that to the rest of the world it was obvious.
The White House reports the U.S. is now leading the world in virus testing per capita. The U.S. has passed up South Korea, which was considered the good standard. The administration is giving over $500 million to health centers across the country to boost testing.
The Trump administration is taking steps to combat what the president calls the invisible enemy by bringing in over 95 million N95 masks. And according to White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, all Americans who have needed a ventilator have had access to one.
And this administration has managed to procure 100,000 ventilators to be manufactured in 100 days. That's extraordinary. That's 3 times the amount produced in the average year.
The White House is reporting the U.S. now leads the world in virus testing per capita. Each of the 50 states is able to test a higher percentage of its population than South Korea, which was considered the gold standard for testing. The Assistant Secretary for Health, Admiral Brett Giroir, predicts about a 5-fold increase in testing by fall if needed.
So by September, taking every aspect of development, authorization, manufacturing, and supply chain into consideration, we project that our nation will be capable of performing at least 40 to 50 million tests per month if needed at that time.
The White House press secretary pointed to an inconsistency in the Washington Post's coverage of the administration. On March 13th, the paper criticized the U.S. for lagging behind South Korea's testing. Yet on Monday, the Washington Post said the administration is bragging about U.S. testing passing South Korea's.
So you can't demand that we reach South Korea and then say that we're bragging when we do. This is a moment where the American private sector succeeded. This administration mobilized that testing. Every state is better off than South Korea at this moment. And that is
McEnany went on to question why the Trump campaign was accused of colluding with Russia to influence the 2016 election in his favor when she says there was no evidence. She said James Clapper, Samantha Power, and Ambassador Rice had stated they had no evidence of the collusion.
But for 3 years, the American people were dragged through the mud and told that their choice for the President of the United States might have been a Russian asset based on no evidence at all.
The DOJ dropped the case against former Trump aide Michael Flynn on Thursday. The case was the first of many prosecutions by special counsel Robert Mueller investigating the alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
And on to vaccine development. In hopes of getting speedier results for a vaccine, thousands have volunteered to be infected with the virus if a trial ever gets underway. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on this controversial method that's raising eyebrows.
Over 16,000 people have signed up to be infected with the CCP virus in hopes of developing a vaccine more quickly. One Day Sooner is leading this effort. They're calling for a human challenge study. Unlike regular vaccine trials, in these studies, people are exposed to the virus after being given the vaccine for quicker results. Dr. Amish Adalja said this has its risks.
Individuals who get infected in the human challenge study may develop severe disease, may require hospitalization, may develop pneumonia, and the risk is not zero, and it could be substantial for a disease for which we don't have very good treatments for.
But he said he thinks these studies should be explored, and if ever done, there should be a plan B in case things go wrong.
And you have to have some kind of mechanism to intervene if they get severe disease. And right now, we don't really have a strong antiviral against the novel coronavirus. So I do understand that there are major challenges, and it may be the challenges are insurmountable at this period of time to do human challenge studies.
The National Institutes of Health is currently in phase 1 of its clinical trial for a CCP virus vaccine. In an email, the institute said it won't support human challenge studies because they expect their trial to be done sooner, possibly by January. They also said it presents major ethical concerns. Miguel Moreno, NTD News, New York.
Jails and prisons nationwide have become hotspots for the virus. Some have released inmates to increase social distancing. And new video footage shows some inmates might be taking it as an incentive to infect themselves.
Surveillance video shows Los Angeles County Jail inmates seemingly trying to expose themselves to the virus. Within 2 weeks, 30 prisoners tested positive. The facility didn't have a single case before that.
We couldn't really understand what happened when everything seemed to be going the way we wanted to.
Deputies checked the surveillance footage to see if inmates were social distancing. They found the opposite. Footage shows inmates passing around a mask and sniffing it. Another group shares a cup of hot water before seeing a nurse. The sheriff says it's sad they were trying to expose themselves to the virus.
As a result of this behavior, from this particular module, 21 inmates tested positive for COVID-19 within a week of these videos being taken.
He says deputies need to better educate inmates about the virus.
Somehow there was some mistaken belief among the inmate population that if they tested positive, that there was a way to force our hand and somehow release more inmates out of our jail environment. And that's not going to happen.
The sheriff's department has released over 5,000 inmates to allow for more social distancing. Qualifications for early release include testing positive for the virus. They also have to be within 60 days of release. Over 25,000 inmates have been infected nationwide. About 350 have died.
And on our global news roundup, we take a look at the UK's death toll, now Europe's highest. A ventilator in a Russian hospital bursts into flames. We hear why that affects Americans. And Germany tries a new virus testing method.
The United Kingdom's death toll now exceeds 40,000, by far the worst reported in Europe. The data was published by the Office for National Statistics. It comes just a day after Prime Minister Boris Johnson unveiled a gradual plan to get Britain back to work. At least half of those deaths were reported in nursing homes in England and Wales. Moscow has begun investigating a type of Russian-made ventilator after 6 people died in hospital fires. The head doctor of the hospital said that the blaze erupted after a ventilator burst into flames in the ward. Some ventilators of the same type have been sent to the U.S. Also in Russia, President Vladimir Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said on Tuesday that he had tested positive for the virus. A German company has come up with a way to test people and safeguard healthcare workers at the same time. They introduced a drive-in system that enables people to be tested for the virus without coming into contact with anyone, thanks to a robotic arm. The company hopes that their system will be used for public gatherings like sporting events in the future. And an operation against mafia clans has seen 91 people arrested in Sicily. They've been accused of being ready to exploit businesses in need during the virus crisis. The anti-mafia operation, called Hands in the Dough, also led to the seizure of real estate property worth about $16 million.
Elon Musk reopens California's Tesla plant against lockdown orders, saying the lockdown singles out his company. He's offering to be the first one arrested in defiance of the order.
Elon Musk reopened Tesla's California plant against the orders of local officials. That's after he threatened to move the company's headquarters to Texas or Nevada. He says county officials are defying the governor's orders. Musk expressed his defiance in a tweet. Tesla is restarting production today against Alameda County rules. I will be on the line with everyone else. If anyone is arrested, I ask that it only be me. He also said Tesla was being singled out while other automakers resumed manufacturing. Tesla is among the largest employers and manufacturers in California. If the company left, so would a lot of jobs. California Governor Gavin Newsom puts the responsibility to resolve the issue on the county.
I have great expectations that we can work through at the county level the issue with this particular county and this company in the next number of days.
States including Texas, Georgia, and Utah have reached out to Musk, encouraging him to come to their state. The Fremont Police Department said it was enforcing the lockdown order at the direction of the health department. It said it was told the county is working with Tesla directly. Musk has criticized the lockdown previously, not just about its detriments to his own business, but to America as a whole.
President Trump wrote on Twitter this morning saying the Tesla plant should be allowed to reopen now. U.S. consumer prices in April dropped by the most since 2008, and Boeing reports its worst start to a year in nearly 60 years. Here are today's business briefs.
U.S. consumer prices for April dropped the most since the Great Recession, weighed down by a plunge in demand for gasoline and services, including airline travel, caused by the pandemic. A report from the Labor Department shows a record decrease in underlying prices, raising the alarm for potential deflation. Cheaper gasoline amid a collapse in crude oil prices offset a 1.5% surge in the cost of food last month. Things aren't looking good for Boeing. The company had 0 new orders in April, and 108 orders for its grounded 737 MAX planes were canceled. It's the company's worst yearly start since 1962. The company delivered just 6 planes last month, bringing the total to 56 for the first 4 months of 2020. Down 67% from last year. And the U.S. Commerce Department announced a final determination. Producers and exporters of glass containers from China received illegal subsidies from the Chinese regime. They ranged from just over 25% to more than 300%. Commerce said imports of glass containers from China were valued at an estimated $370 million in 2018. The department is also investigating dumping of glass containers from China. After a final determination of injury to U.S. manufacturers, Commerce could issue a countervailing duty order.
Here at China in Focus, we dedicate ourselves to bringing you truthful, unbiased reporting. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates, and see you tomorrow.